So it has been an interesting few weeks in wrestling. I haven't been posting a lot. I've been busy with stuff at home, new job. You know how it goes. And I've been following what's been going on since the Royal Rumble, and I wanted to kind of wait until more storyline has progressed. And I will say I won't have an accurate picture of what WrestleMania 40 is going to look like, I think, until after Elimination Chamber. So, with that said, there's been a lot of talk going on because originally we thought it was we thought a lot of things going into Royal Rumble. We thought it was going to be Punk and Rollins, and Cody was going to finally finish the story with Roman. Well, as it turns out, CM Punk got hurt in the Royal Rumble, and he's going to be out for several months. So any plans that were made with him and Seth were scrapped. And I think what was trying to happen at that time is because they were hinting with like the Rock and Roman having some kind of conflict. So a lot of the theories that people were having the year prior about the Rock and Roman, it looked like it was coming true this year, a lot more so because he would actually show up on WWE programming. He had cut some promos talking about wanting to be at the head of the table, and with Seth being hurt, and he's basically going to be hurt right up until WrestleMania, so he's probably just going to be trying to rehab the best he can. Um, Basically, Seth now, the Monday night after Royal Rumble, he is then telling Cody, my title's the workhorse title. This is the title that you really, really want. The other title isn't a real title. Come and fight me. And then on that SmackDown, this is when it all starts kind of going, bottoms up. He comes out, and Cody comes out rather with Roman, and they're doing in-ring promo, and he starts talking about he's like I will win that title, but not at WrestleMania. And then The Rock comes out, he shakes his hand, gives him a hug, and then Cody walks up the ramp. So that one night pretty much confirmed that it looked like the plan was going to be, now it's going to be The Rock versus Roman, and then it potentially would be Cody challenging Seth Rollins for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Last Monday night, it kind of turned into a schmaz where now it's Drew getting more into that picture again. And he's trying to vie for his spot, and Cody seemed like he could have potentially been on board with it. So, first of all, the fan outcry since the realization that we are not going to get the main event that people were wanting initially of Cody versus Roman, where Cody finally wins the big one, was going to get snatched away by TKO's newest the newest executive, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And it's funny how shortly after that he just immediately inserted himself into the WrestleMania scene, and funny how it pretty much meant that Cody was going to give up his spot. Now, these are all allegations because nothing has been officially released as far as talking about plans. For all we know, this has been a work. However, I think based on how much this idea has been absolutely blown up in WWE's face, I think what we're about to get into is damage control. So there was a WrestleMania. What was it? It was what was it? Oh, it was a WrestleMania 40 press conference kickoff, and Cody. Hold on, I'm not gonna play all of it, but I'm just gonna kind of go through it. But it was like some big press release they were doing for for WrestleMania before SmackDown tonight, or it actually might have been aired before SmackDown, but we'll see. Or I'm sorry, it might have been taped before SmackDown. So, so this happened, and keep in mind this is less than a week after. This is less than a week after it was announced that Cody was inevitably going to be giving up his spot to The Rock, so The Rock would be Roman, and now we're going to be getting an interesting couple of months. If it wants to play. Does it want to play? Oh, you're going to be difficult, aren't you?
Talk about his.
Okay, so basically, like Cody had mentioned beforehand, because I'm not getting the other video working, um, if your bloodline or your ancestors, your family, if they could see what the champion or the man you become, they would be ashamed of you. And then The Rock just casually, decided to come out and step in and defend him. I'm like, okay.
When you talk about his family,
What?
you're talking about my family.
What?
When you're talking about his ancestors,
What?
you're talking about my ancestors.
What?
And when you're talking about his blood,
What?
you're talking about my blood. So now we have a problem.
And Seth was just there, I guess. So I'm hearing a lot of really funny things, like it's gonna be a tag team. I saw it was like we're gonna get a tag match: Roman Reigns and The Rock versus Cody and Seth Rollins. Seth won't even be medically able to participate in this match unless by some miracle that he is healed up in time for this match. And I have to say, are we really doing this? I feel like this is like shades of oh, what was it, like going into like WrestleMania like 28 or something. I forget. It was like WrestleMania 28 where they had Cena and Rock versus The Miz and R-Truth, and I'm like, you're literally just gonna put them. It just felt really weird, and I think what this was. I think this was course correction. I think I could be wrong. This sounds like it could be some course correction because the fan outrage for the past week has been very vocal and has been very negative, because I'm just going to come out and say it. The idea of, and this is my personal opinion, the idea of Cody challenging Seth randomly out of nowhere for that shot at the title, despite the fact that it just really fell out of nowhere. And I really do feel like it was a last minute call because they were trying to save WrestleMania, because it could have very well have been CM Punk and Seth Rollins, and then on the other end it could have been Cody, and it could have been Roman. But since CM Punk is hurt, I'm thinking, well, they need to actually have someone for Seth. So I'm thinking that's what that was. The problem is that if you go back to when Cody first came back to WWE, he came back WrestleMania 38. And his first match that night was Seth Rollins. He also had 2 more matches with Seth Rollins after that, including a Hell in a Cell match where he beat Seth Rollins with a torn pec muscle. He then left either very late summer or very early fall, and then came back at the Royal Rumble last year at number 30 to win. And since then, I mean, he won. That was when we first heard to finish the story. Went to WrestleMania, had a good match with Roman. However, unfortunately, came up short due to shenanigans. Then went into a weird but interesting feud with Brock Lesnar that spanned up until SummerSlam, which was the official rubber match where Seth officially won, which was the passing of the torch. A lot of people liken it to the John Cena 2012 line where he lost the big match with The Rock and he was having a downward spiral of a year, but he needed to bounce back. Although I'd argue this one, the way they did it with Cody, was better because they immediately fed Brock to John Cena, and then about a month or two later he beat Brock, and the rest of the year was just white noise. So getting back on track here. So after that, then what was it? He won the tag belts with Jey Uso for a week, lost them back to Judgment Day. Then he led the Survivor, him and Judgment Day, and Sami Zayn and Jey Uso and their team fighting against Judgment Day, and he led the Survivor Series War Games team. So that big noticeable wins, good promo work. Going into the Royal Rumble, where they were constantly talking about no one has done back-to-back Royal Rumble wins in over 2 decades. No one's done it. Well, he does it. So it stands to reason that it was looking like it was going to be Cody finally getting his big one-uppance. And for anyone arguing how they still could have done Rock and Roman. They still could have done it. They could have done it. They could have done night one, and it wouldn't. And have Seth go on last still, but on night one, just have Roman and The Rock, and it just turns into it can either turn into an impromptu match, or you can set it up in advance, and basically just call it for being considered for the rights of being considered head of the table, and basically there's your out for giving Roman the protected loss on night 2, where he comes out completely dejected because he's officially no longer considered the head of the table, and he ends up losing to Cody, and he can go off and he can get whatever time he needs to. He needs time to be off camera, despite the fact he's barely on it now, except for promos and stuff. But this just kind of adds a whole new dimension to it. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to dissect. So what does it look like we're going into? Well, it also doesn't help that earlier this week, The Rock was on he was doing some kind of interview, or he was on some kind of show, and he just decided to go absolute full-on heel mode and just start calling all the fans, not all, but most of the Cody Rhodes fans, Cody crybabies. And now all of a sudden we're getting this, and WWE is putting out teaser banners and posters of where they're saying, no, it's official. We're gonna have Cody and Roman at WrestleMania 40, and now The Rock is just tied in there, and then this weird kickoff show event, and oh my gosh. So I have no idea what's going on as of right now. It looks like oh god, if WrestleMania ended up rocking Cody, which no, it wouldn't work that way unless somehow Rock won the title, which I'd argue was really stupid considering the fact that he hasn't been in a wrestling ring since he hasn't officially been in a wrestling match since WrestleMania 29. I don't care if he came out and beat up the Wyatt family that one year. It doesn't count. It's not. I don't think it's an official match. Was it an official match? I don't remember. It was such a nothing thing. It just to say, oh, he was there, but there's the possibility it could become a triple threat with The Rock and Roman and Cody. And right now it's a mess. And I'll tell you why it's a mess. Because this happened. The Rock and Roman thing should have happened. It should have happened at another time. Because right now, Cody is the guy that the company is really getting behind to be like their big baby face, central role. And I feel like, and a lot of the fans felt, and you can go and check out timestamps of after SmackDown last week, the February 2nd, and you will see the ridiculous amount of outrage of what essentially was WWE telling us that it was Cody giving up his spot for The Rock randomly. And then now The Rock is just going to slap Cody in the face because he made reference to, like, oh, you've made your ends, like, you've disrespected your family and your legacy and your bloodline, and they would be ashamed, and then The Rock's suddenly going to defend all that. I'm like, weren't you not just cutting promos on your cousin, talking, like, how about how you wanted to be the head, like, sit at the head of the table, and he thinks he's the tribal chief, and it's those things where I'm like, so this random need to defend Roman, it felt really out of nowhere. And again, this pairing with his Cody Crybabies comment where he's going after the fans, and it's like, no, I think this is WWE realizing really quick, and they are not going to repeat the same issues from 10 years prior, where we very well could have just gotten Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, and the main event would have only been Randy Orton and Batista. Thankful, and it took them like a month after that with the amount of outrage and the backlash to change that. I don't know if it'll necessarily be a triple threat match. I'd argue it might be the best way to kind of just to clean it up so Roman's not wrestling in 2 nights. But like at the same time, there's also now alleged reports that The Rock has apparently been wanting to book himself win the title after him not wrestling for 10 years. So I think it's safe to say right now that this has just turned into a giant cluster bomb of a mess. And if it really does mean we're going to get Cody and Roman, I will say this. This needs to be the end, done, finished. Cody, in my opinion, would have to win the title. Because if they pull a swerve and Roman defends, it's because they're either going to set up him losing the belt to The Rock, which would be a ridiculously bad choice, or they really want to go for him beating Hulk Hogan's lengthy record, which I'm not... no, we need to stop. I mean, we've already had... I think Roman's like now in like the top 4. Yeah, I think the top 4 behind Hogan, Backlund, and San Martino as far as like total like longest title streak. And I think he would have to hold on to it almost until WrestleMania next year, maybe like a few months before. I don't have the number sitting right in front of me. But I think it just goes to show you that if this is what it's come down to, or WWE is actively trying to listen to the fans, it's because they realize after decades of not doing that, and with Vince McMahon, right now, the stank of Vince McMahon needs to get washed clean from the company. So I think what we're seeing is Triple H doing everything in his ability to make the fans happy, because he wants to try and turn like people back to the product and show that like, hey, we're listening to the fans. They made it very clear this is sports entertainment, except now they're mentioning wrestling on the programming, which I do appreciate. And it really just goes to show you that in less than a week, we're already getting changes to the Mania card. How it's going to look, I still don't know. We could have 2 Roman matches. We could have a triple threat match. For anyone saying, oh, but Cody and Seth would have been awesome. And I'm like, listen, I'm not doubting that it would have been awesome. Those two have had great matches. The problem is that it's not the match people want. And when I mean the people, I mean the WWE fans, I guess the universe. I sound like a shill for the company. That is not what the people necessarily wanted to see. They wanted to see Roman lose the belt, and they wanted to see him lose the belt to the guy who was calling his shot at the end of consecutive Royal Rumble victories. He called his shot. He wanted that. He literally was pointing to Roman Reigns after the end of the Rumble, and it's like, oh, we're just going right to it. And then I like how Cody kind of tried to work his passing with, or I'm sorry, Seth tried to work in his passing with Cody. He's like, I've proven it. I've beaten everyone, but I need to prove it by beating you, hearkening back to their matches in which Seth never won. And I'm like, oh, that's good. Like it's good. Like they're actually going back to wins and losses. And they kind of did the exact same. When Drew came out that same night, he goes, and Seth's like, why do you even think you deserve a shot? I've already beaten you like twice. And Drew just kind of like laid waste to everyone in the ring. And I'd argue Drew has really kicked it up a notch. Like his promo work has gotten exponentially better. I like I like the kind of character and the persona we're getting now. Like, I can't say he's a full-on heel, but he's definitely walking that, like, anti-hero role, leaning more towards, like, he's gonna do, like, he's definitely, like, an agent of chaos. He's doing it to his own greater good rather than, like, any kind of, like, lawful moral. Him poking fun at CM Punk on Instagram, I thought, or Instagram or Twitter, shows how much I use social media. I thought it was hilarious. Like, never skip tricep day. And it's like, that could be the match. I think that could very well be Seth's opponent if Cody does go on to face Roman. But obviously, I think this would be Drew getting his big win in front of the fans, putting in the work, and working on the character, getting better with the character. I think this could very well be Drew's time. This could very well be Cody's time. I'll do a video after Elimination Chamber talking about what I think the WrestleMania picture is going to be looking like. But as of right now, it stands to reason that we are definitely going to get Roman, and we're going to get our Cody match. To what degree involving The Rock, still don't know yet. But I want to say signs are looking good that it could potentially go that way. But after this is all said and done, I think this is The Rock's. After this, no more Rock. We don't need it. If they could find a way to shoehorn it in last year, they could have done it last year. I was like, this was something they've been talking about for like a year and a half, if not 2 years. And we thought maybe this would happen last year, but they said no. And then who knows what's going to happen this year. Maybe they'll move Rock and Roman to SummerSlam. Who knows? I don't. But I will say though, for all the fans who have been really taking this so far to the point where they're just like losing their minds, like I'll never watch again. The show is tainted. They don't listen to the fans. And I'm like, well, first of all, there's just so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes, last minute changes, people getting injured, new people coming into, executive positions. Very few people have definite spots. And if it were to just be Seth and Cody, it would be a fine match. It would be a good match. If it were to be The Rock and Roman, I'd argue that would be a good match because those two guys have similar styles. Rock and Roman both have like the big explosive moves, so it would have been like a Hoss match to an extent, and it would have been fine. But the reality of it would have sank in afterwards, and people would have been like, "That was ridiculous." Then the people would have remembered like the big year, the comeback after he tore his pec muscle and calling his shot and failing because of interference, and then the tumultuous year with having to deal with Brock Lesnar and having to finally get all that taken care of, and then having to deal with Judgment Day and him calling his shot again, only to have all of that swept away just so The Rock and Roman can have a match. It really inconspicuous timing of when Dwayne Johnson just magically becomes a member of TKO, and fans don't forget. And I'd argue if they did keep that course, people would have watched the show, but it would not. Let's put it this way: the amount of loss that would have come from that, as far as their overall numbers, would have been far greater than if they would have just stayed the course and continued to press on. Because at that point, the only issue would have been who is Seth facing, which I think could have just been Drew McIntyre. So that's that. And oh brother, yeah, this. I think after WrestleMania, this will be the official clean slate the company so desperately needs. A new era, I think, will begin. A breath of fresh air. New champions, a whole new feel, and with Vince McMahon being out, reportedly, he might be saying out. Never say never. I think after WrestleMania 40, a new, fresh beginning can happen with bright futures ahead. But, yeah. So anyone who says WWE doesn't listen, keep in mind that this is all coming after 1 week of Cody and apparently giving up his spot. So, no, they listen, but again, it's a show. So, unless you're still somehow paying ridiculous $60+ for your pay-per-views by some backwoods version and not watching it on Peacock, you're out like $10. So I'd stop complaining.